Hey girl, let's talk crime. So, if you guys don't know, this case is actually not open to the public as far as cameras being in there. So, it takes a little bit of time for whoever is inside the courtroom to release the information. So, that's why the videos do not come as quickly as I would like them to. So tonight we're going to jump into day 4 and day 5 of the R. Kelly trial, yesterday and today. So we will be hearing testimony from Jane Doe number 5, which is one of the 6 people who are testifying against R. Kelly. Jane Doe number 5 is Azriel Clary. So before I jump into her testimony, I want to tell you guys a little bit about her story with R. Kelly if you do not know. So in 2015, when Azriel was just 17 years old, her parents ended up taking her to a jazz concert in Florida where R. Kelly would be performing. So this happened after she had spent some time in a mental hospital, and so they did not want to leave her home by herself, and so they did take her, hoping to kind of get her out of that, mindset and maybe inspire her as she was an aspiring singer. So at some point during this concert, R. Kelly makes contact with Azriel. So she tells her parents that he's wanting to work with her as far as music goes. And so a few days later, she ends up going to a hotel because he is giving her the opportunity to audition for him. So over the next year, she is touring with R. Kelly from her home in Florida, traveling to Chicago, California, just all over the country. And her parents are under the impression that he is making sure that she is doing her virtual school, her learning, and that he is showing her kind of the ins and outs of the music industry. But what her parents did not know is that they were actually in a sexual relationship that started the day that he was supposed to allow her to audition for him. Once Azriel turned 18, the communication between her and her parents stopped for the next 4 years. Okay, so let's jump into her testimony. So on Monday, she got on the stand and she talked about how at the first meeting they had at the hotel, when she was supposed to audition for him, he said in order for her to audition, he actually needed to ejaculate first. And she was a little taken back by that. And so she ended up, after pressure from him, walking back and forth in front of him in just her panties while he pleasured himself. He kept pressuring her for oral sex, and then eventually she did give in. So months later, she said that she was having extreme vaginal and abdominal pain, so much so that it was really hard to walk. And once going to the hospital, she learned that she had actually contracted herpes. Azriel went on to talk about how she was beaten often, she was verbally, emotionally, mentally, sexually abused. She said that there was the first time when she admitted her real age, because initially she had told him that she was 18, and once she told him how old she really was, which was 17, he kind of laughed in her face and then slapped her with an open palm. He then walks away, comes back, and says that we'll figure it out after giving her a kiss. She said that she would get beaten every 2 or 3 days, oftentimes for violating rules that he had set in place for the girls. Some were like not calling him daddy or not having intercourse when he wanted it. And whenever she would make eye contact with other men, it would cause him to go into a rage and beat her. In one incident, R. Kelly had received a text message from someone on his team that wrote Azriel's name and then used a rat emoji and basically was talking about Azriel telling an old high school friend that she was in a sexual relationship with R. Kelly, and once confronted, she did lie about it, and he beat her with his size 12 Air Force One all over her body. She said he beat her in her arms, her face, her butt until she would admit that she was lying. Azriel talked about this list of strict rules that she had to follow, which included, as I've previously said, calling him daddy. He controlled everything that she ate, what she wore when she went to the restroom, where she could go. He would often make her have sex with other women in the relationship, and he would use different tactics. And one of the tactics that he used to blackmail her was to record her saying that her father had molested her. So in the event that she wanted to leave him, he could say, well, I will release this if you do. She also talked about how R. Kelly admitted to her that the reasoning why he married Aaliyah was because at that time no one could consent for an abortion except for a spouse or parents. And with her being pregnant, he wanted to be able to get her an abortion without anyone knowing. In 2017, Azriel found out that she was pregnant and she was forced by R. Kelly to get an abortion because he said that he wanted to be able to keep her body right. Punishments also included having sex with certain men that she did not want to. She would also be locked into a room and forced to urinate in a cup. He also made her record herself smearing feces onto her face and into her mouth. R. Kelly, who is 54, could face anywhere from 10 years to life in prison if convicted of the charges in his New York case, which include racketeering, kidnapping, forced labor, sexual exploitation of children. He also has pending criminal cases in Minnesota and Illinois.